Hello there, welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to do a video response to a video made by Dicey Beppu. Again, I probably butchered your name again, sorry. I'm getting there. Basically, he was asked a question, what film do you change your mind on, either going from loving them to hating them, or loving them to not liking them, or not liking something and starting to really like it later on. I thought it was an interesting question. You ask people to make a video or just do a written response. I'm just going to make a video because I think it was a good enough question to actually do a video about. I've got a list here, so that's why my glasses on. I'm going to take my glasses off with all these lights around for the other videos, but this one so I can reference the notes I made. It'll be easier to do it this way. Right, first I'm going to go by the films that I've gotten worse over time. Because I want to go really end in the high points rather than the lower points. So one of the ones Dseku made was Titanic. One of the things he mentioned, that was one of the ones I thought of as well instantly, which was because it was a film I was when it came out I was a student, I think, and so I saw it, really enjoyed it. I think I saw it twice in the cinema. I really liked the scale of it. Even though I thought the love story was a bit cliched, but it wasn't too bad. You still get into it enough to think it was interesting. But trying to rewatch it now is just pretty difficult, I find. I mean, I like Titanic. The ship Titanic is interesting to me. I mean, my favourite film of that kind of subject matter is Night to Remember, because it's more... it's done in a way that's actually... like more historical and more even tempered. There's no like melodrama in it. It's just, this is what happened. Titanic has got the love story. The problem I think is, I think when you're younger, the love story of the idea of trying to reach potential and trying to cast yourself off from what your parents expect has more meaning to you. When you're watching it when you're older, you're thinking these people are just really self-involved and just get over yourself. I think that's one of the reasons why that one kind of falls away a little bit if you're a bit older. It does feel like the lead characters are a bit self-indulgent. And the end stuff where you find out that Rose went on and did all these amazing things does feel a bit like it's just romantic sludge type of thing. I always thought it was a bit over the top when I first saw it, but now it's like, geez, this is so self-indulgent. I think the other point is you don't see it in the cinema. No matter how good your Blu-ray is or your DVD is, you don't get the scale of the film and the scale of the disaster in a home viewing. And I think the scale of that ship and the way it was shot on the big screen gives you a lot that you don't get in the home viewing. So I don't think it really scales up as well. In a way that I think it's a Night to Remember, because it's not about the scale, it's about the human drama bit by bit, very subtle. It works a lot better for the spectacle. This film, Titanic, don't think it really delivers beyond the spectacle in some ways, and the stuff it does deliver is pretty immature. So I think that's one of the reasons why I don't think it really holds up. I think it's going way down in my estimation. The next one is The Exorcist. I saw this one when I was a kid. The Exorcist in the UK was banned, so I saw it. I saw a borrowed copy of it, so it wasn't very good quality. That's as far as I'll say. Okay. So it was, but that quality actually made the film a lot scarier because it was just more, felt more brutal. And also, like, the first time seeing it, not knowing that much about it, actually watching that film's advantage because it's so well directed that you get suspension of disbelief. But the problem I find with that film is that the prettier it looks, I don't think it works as well. So I think every time they remaster it, actually feels it going further. It looks prettier, it looks more pristine, but it goes further and further away from the base horror. So some films, horrors, get away with looking great because of how they're shot. This one I think needs that primal thing in the background, a scary thing, because I think it looked very grimy in the 70s. she doesn't look like it anymore, and I think it really does affect the film a lot. I also think that if you don't believe in, you know, all the supernatural stuff like the devil possessing somebody, that goes back. I'm not sure I can suspend disbelief beyond one viewing for that one. So no matter how well directed it is, it's really well directed. The subject matter itself is, I just don't really go for what I just don't buy it. If you don't buy it, it's not that scary. So that one's fallen away. Fun enough, I like the sequels, which are much more flawed films, but they're more interesting films. They're more fun, and the weird disasters that they impose upon the audience. They're just more fun. Right, next is Cape Fear remake. Now I love the original Cape Fear, Robert Mitchum, Gregory Peck one. That's still really good, very solid, because it's psychological. The remake is gaudy as hell. Scorsese remade it, and it's one of those films that was noted at the time. People would think it wasn't really that invested in it, because the direction was so over the top that the first time you see it, with all those effects, all those like they've got all these like fake fireworks, all these like bizarre camera moves. It creates that momentum, but then when you see it again after knowing where the whole film has gone, you realise all of these things didn't add to anything because the script itself was still very flawed. I mean, the script original was much better because it was more locked down, more of its psychology of Max Cady and what he was doing, and he was much more of a boogeyman figure. But you still got him. You got the balance right. In this one, De Niro's way over the top. The threat's not really real. The threat feels just like they've seen 29 Elm Street films. It's just gaudy. It just doesn't really work in a second viewing. And the original works a lot in reviews. So no matter, the people getting their face ripped off, they have people getting drowned or nearly drowned and all that stuff. But it's just a lot of nonsense. So that one really does not hold up at all. I mean, this I think it's one of Scorsese's worst films. Okay, now it's just two directors who I think the films generally get worse with age. John Ford and Tarantino. I think both of them are. John Ford's a decent director for a certain age group. I think in my age group and below, his films come across as very stodgy and very just authoritarian, and it's respect your authority figures. There's not that much criticism, even when he's been critical. It's not that critical, and it just feels, the films feel stiff, and compared to Howard Hawks seems to make films that still feel very modern because the characters still react in a way that you can relate to. John Ford, I just find his films to be really, you know, stiff and, you know, unemotional. So I liked him enough as a kid, but as I get older I find them really hard to watch. I mean, I find them very tough. And the Tarantino thing, I think the problem with him, for me at least, is that he's like up himself a bit too much. He thinks he's better than he actually is. Like, he knows what his skills are, but then he thinks those skills cover everything. And for my he's got good skills as a writer, but as a storyteller, he gets very self-involved and things are allowed to stretch way longer than they need to. I mean, there's one example is Django Unchained. The middle section of Django Unchained goes on forever. Like, it gets to the point where you're tense, and then it goes beyond that to you're just bored because they're just hitting the same notes. I think that's Tarantino playing a lot in the rewatching is he hits notes again and again. And it's like, if you weren't so good at dialogue, everyone would notice you're actually just repeating yourself when you're in the dramas and the centerpieces doesn't move very fast. It moves like a snail's pace, and it's, and the rewatches you just think, just get on with it, please. Plus, he's a problem with endings. A lot of his films now. The endings tend to be silly, and I haven't. It hasn't a good ending since Kill Bill 2. Really, every film I've seen since then of him, it's like, I'm enjoying the film, then got a bit stodgy in the middle, and then the ending's always like, what the hell are you doing? I mean, the best ending I liked, one I liked most recent was the recent one, Hateful Eight. But Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained, you know, even the the one with Kurt Russell was a driver who's attacking the women. Even that had a really weird ending. It was felt anticlimactic, and it's like they were built towards something more interesting, and it just was like, this is your typical exploitation ending, and it didn't deliver what it was promising in the film. So I think he's a director that loses a lot. Now, I might change my mind on these directors and these films as I get older again, but at the moment that's where I'm just now. These people I think have problems, you know. Right, so now we're going to the films I like a lot more now than I did when I saw them. There's a couple of films I'm going to start with that were films I actually were intrigued by when I saw them, but I liked them a hell of a lot more when I saw them again. Then there's like two that I thought were garbage when I saw them, and now I really like them. So the first first one I would see is Ran. This is a Kurosawa film I saw when I was a teenager. Even though I'd already seen like Seven Samurai and Throne of Blood and really liked them, this one just confused the hell out of me. Not the plot level, it was just like, it just didn't seem to hang together at all for me. I just was like, I don't get it. It just seems to be like disjointed. It was getting rave reviews. I saw it on TV and it just never really worked for me. Now it does. Now it really works. I think it's a wonderful film. I saw it recently. It just delivered. I just had a video a few weeks ago about Kurosawa, which includes my views of Ran, the new my more recent views of Ran. But that one really was. I just could not get my head around that film when I first saw it. Maybe I was a bit young for it. I don't know, but I just didn't get it. I can understand the King Lear plot and all the machinations of the plot. It's just like emotionally, I was just watching it. Like I was just watching something that you had no real interest in. But now I'm really engaged by it. I think I just aged. I don't think I was quite ready to watch that film. I don't think I quite was ready for it. So that was one that it was just a film that I could never quite got. The next one was the same as John Carpenter's The Thing. This one was, when I saw it, I was very confused by it because it was really disturbing to me. So this one also, the next one, Casino, was the same way. Both of them disturbed me in weird ways. I couldn't quite process it first time I saw them. I knew there was something fascinating about them, but I couldn't quite get my head around them. So it took a second viewing for me to actually click what was getting to me, and what was getting to me was I found in The Thing, I just found it was so disturbing. It just overwhelmed me the first time that I couldn't quite process it. Cause I think I was about 14 when I saw it or something. It just went, it impacted me full on, and just had a bit of shell shock from the film. So it took a while for me to process it. But now it's one of my favourite films. But yeah, that was the first viewing of it. Just really knocked me sideways in a weird way. It wasn't just like, oh, that's amazing. It was more like, I don't quite understand this. Do I like it? Do I not like it? What is it? It felt like a nightmare happening in front of you. Especially at 14 when you weren't prepared for this at all. I mean, I'd heard it was a scary film, but I didn't know that much about it, and it was just, I think nowadays you see The Thing, you've heard so much about it, like all these amazing effects. I heard it was amazing effects, but that was it. I didn't really know that much. Because this was in the 80s, when it was just VHS stuff, there was no internet, you just heard bits and bobs from people from school and things, about how scary it was and stuff, that was it. So that one really knocked me sideways. Casino was too long, it's still too long, but I think that's what's fascinating about it. I think that's what got to me, because I thought I was losing interest as I went, because I thought the Neo character was a bit dull first time round. He still means the character is meant to be a kind of fastidious, slightly dull person. That's what kind of threw me, I think, the first time I saw it. Then when I saw it again, that became fascinating, the way he interacted, the way he viewed the world. I think second time round it really clicked for me. And now I actually like it more than Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas is a bit more flashy. But this one I think feels more accurate to the ambitions of these people, what they were actually like. Which was they wanted the money, they wanted the lifestyle. They didn't know why, they didn't know what to do with it. And this whole film's about people who have ambitions, but then they get the ambitions, it's like, well, why do I want the ambitions? I'm way more miserable than I was before. I think you need that slow pace in the middle to really get that, to really ram it home. And that's why I think I dislike certain middle parts of Tarantino films, is you have that same meandering quality, but I don't think there's a real point to it. I think it's just a lot of times it's just like self-indulgence is not clear enough. And this one I felt it really was delivering something that was about the psychology, and the reason why I felt meandering is because it was related to the psychology of these people who couldn't get it together. So Casino's wonderful. Casino now I'd say is just great. The final one is, of these ones I wasn't quite sure, but I saw it was Meaning of Life, Monty Python movie. Because it's a film even to the Monty Pythons have problems with, because it's an anthology comedy thing. There's lots of sketches, a sketch comedy, and John Cleese apparently hates it. Or maybe not hate it, but I think he has real problems with it. And the reason is, some of it is brilliant and some of it is like, what the hell are you thinking? Because there's depths. I mean, there's the first section, you have the Terry Gilliam section about the office workers who turn their building into a pirate ship. That's so good. Then you get this weird comedy section about the NHS, which it's never funny. It's always just like, this doesn't work. They should have rewritten this to get it right. It's just like, hi, this is one of the best bits to one of the worst bits straight away. And that's a good sign of the film. The film goes up and down the whole way through. And the first time you see it, it's like, it's this mess of things that don't work. And you're not quite sure you like it or not, it just feels like, this is frustrating. And that's what I like about it now. This is what I really like, is it is frustrating, it does go all over the place, but the hangs are so good. I mean, the bit with the live transplant patient, we're still using the organ they want to get out of him, and you've suddenly doing that song about the universe, all within about 2 minutes. You have this stuff about fishes, and you've got a guy getting chased by all these women, and that's where he wants to die. And you've Eric Idle talking about stuff and walking, this long walking scene, which is the end sequence, which the first time you see it, and it gets to the end when you realise he doesn't have a point. You were expecting something great, and it turns out it wasn't anything great. It was just some guy who didn't really have a clue. The first time that's frustrating, you expect him to pay off, and then the second time when you see it, that's really funny. So that's one of the gags you need to see second time round to get the gag. And there's a Mr. Cousteau sketch which is hilarious, and it's always been viewed at the peak of the film. There's tons of great stuff, and I think it's just the whole weird thing of some bits work, some bits don't. It creates something that's actually very likeable the more you watch it. But it just, because I think it is genuinely the weakest of the three Python films. I mean, I don't really count the first one that was just a remake of the TV sketches. Of the three original ones, this is the weakest. But in some ways it's one of the more interesting of the films, because it doesn't have that weird line that Holy Grail had. Holy Grail was random as hell, but it did that one plot line that kept everything together and made the randomness understandable. Because that's my favourite of the films, Holy Grail. I mean, Life of Brian had a much better plot, but it didn't go off in weird angles as much, which to me was a slight problem, because I like the weirdness a bit more than some fans. This one was just all weirdness, and there's no line at all. But that's what makes it good now. I think it's one of those films that just aged really well, because I think with the internet and the 5-minute thing going on now, that people seeing 5-minute versions of things, people understand the pace of it a lot more now, and it feels like the most disorganised random experience of what life feels like. So the meaning of life is life rather than an intellectual meaning. I think that's the idea of it, at least. I mean, I'm not sure if that was the planned idea, but that's what the film feels like. Anyway, these are the two films I hated when I first saw them and now I really like. The first one's Cat of Nine Tails, the Argento film, which I always thought was the disaster in the midst of a great run in the 70s, because Argento had Birds of Crystal Plumage, then he had this one, then he had Four Flies in Grey Velvet, then he had Deep Red. It was like he had this great run apart from this one film which just seemed wrong. It was like, what is this? This is a disaster. Well, I saw it in Pan and Scan before, and I saw it in a bad copy. This is opposite of The Exorcist. That's a film that needed the proper ratio and it needed the good quality to make it work, because it's how everything's shot that creates the tension, that creates the interest. Paniscan doesn't really... Everything's in the framing and how things are, how people move through the frame to create the tension. It's wonderfully directed. It's a wonderful film, but the worst part of it is the plot. And without the proper ratio, the way it's been directed, it feels very bitty and pretty crappy because the story's not that great. But with all the proper presentation, it's amazing. Because it's all style in this one. This one's all style, no substance. It's a beautiful film. I don't have much more to say in that one because I've just recently rewatched and realised how good it was. So I don't really have an intellectual argument to make. It's just like, this is really good. And finally, is Master and Commander. Master and Commander is a film by Peter Weir. Well, I really like Peter Weir as a director. Fearless is amazing. You know, Truman Show. I mean, a lot of his films, like Witness, I really like Mosquito Coast. There's a lot of films he made I really like. And this one came out and I was really looking forward to it, and I hated it when I first saw it because I thought everything was a cliche for me. It was just like, this is it, he spent all his money making this. I didn't like the characters, I didn't like anything. All the plot lines in the middle of the film I thought were really boring. I just thought it was tedious. I was just crawling to get out of the cinema when I first saw it. It was one of those really weird ones, and then I saw it again in video because I wanted to give it a chance because I liked the director. I'm very good at giving second chances to films, cause especially a director I like. I want to see if I was in a bad mood or something, or I misread something. And it was like watching a different film, like everything I thought was a cliche before suddenly felt right. The character suddenly felt interesting, the world suddenly felt fascinating. And I have no idea what the difference was. I genuinely don't have no clue. I've got theories about other films where it might have a few changed. This one, it just seemed like the first time I saw it was on the outside and I couldn't... I've seen all the mechanisms and all the previous type of stories who'd used some of those ideas. And the second time I just went to the film and it was like, yeah, they're using those ideas but they're using it for a point. And a lot of the stuff they're talking about is stuff people believed in that time period, and it just suddenly became a totally different film for me. And a wonderful film. So it went from being one of my least favourite films of the noughties to one of my favourite films of the noughties. And I still can't entirely explain it. But that's my list anyway. I don't want to go much longer. This video is actually dedicated to a friend of mine, Gavin Stewart, who's always amazed at the fact that I will watch films that I originally hated just out of curiosity, and he always wondered what the hell that's about because he just sees them and hates them, that's it. I rewatched stuff that, I mean, I've rewatched Alexander like twice and I hated it the first time and it's still a disaster, but it's fascinating. I like fascinating disasters. But I get always confused with him, so that's why this video is dedicated to him. Enjoy it. Alright, bye, I'll see you later with some more reviews.